70, also known as the Currency and Foreign Transactions Reporting Act. So this has pretty much been around for a while. So gotta say it's been around for about maybe like 52 years. About 51, 52 years. In effect, is a U.S. or United States law requiring financial institutions in the United States to assist the U.S. government agencies in detecting and preventing money laundering. Specifically, the Act requires financial institutions to help keep records of cash purchases of negotiable instruments, file reports if the daily aggregate exceeds $10,000, and report suspicious activity that may signify money laundering, tax evasion, or other criminal activities. Let me go ahead and repeat this, because apparently, as in my opinion, this law probably affects you, probably affects me, but what this law is designed to stop and to in who it's designed to stop, I'm not really sure if it's all that effective, but that's just my opinion. I really don't know. I've seen some documentaries on Netflix and other YouTube, on YouTube and etc., where when you talk about dirty money, one is talking about dirty money, and there's some other documentaries out there when it comes to money laundering, tax evasion, and other criminal activities. So this is one of the things that interests me a lot about why I'm talking about the Bank Secrecy Act, because I'm going to leave it up to you, and you can comment or talk about it as well. Like, what do you think? Is this particular U.S. law, is it effective? We're only talking within the U.S. You can also talk about within your country as well, or comment about it. If they have any laws that are similar to this Bank Secrecy Act of 1970, I would be interested in knowing. Knowledge is power in some cases. So I just want to have that information to see if if other countries are enacting their own particular tax evasion and money laundering and criminal activities, when and if their banks are reporting, it says right here, specifically, the Act requires financial institutions to keep records of cash purchases of negotiable instruments. So there's some big terms here, negotiable instruments. So we can say, what are negotiable instruments? And Wikipedia has a link to define, but there's other websites besides Wikipedia, and so don't really use Wikipedia as, or myself, a YouTuber or YouTube creator, as a source, primary source. This is just for entertainment purposes, and just just to do what social media is actually supposed to do, not create hate and all this frustration and be like the worst like commercial or advertiser, there is, like as you saw with the FB hearings, on that's not the purpose, like to try to rack up a whole bunch of money by making a lot of people angry and frustrated or etc. So in targeting kids and things like that, like even YouTube, for creators, we have to like say whether or not we are have kids in the videos, or have or is this made for kids. There's like new laws in effect in the U.S. In that sense. But I was surprised when they were talking about FB. One of the whistleblowers was talking about how FB is actively targeting kids and to make to make them insecure, make them angry, and just so they can drive up revenues, and with no responsibility at all, just the bottom line, just to see how they can make more money by making people and societies worse off than what they are. And it's really ridiculous. So anyway, off on that rant, just trying to figure out, like, hey, negotiable instruments, money laundering, it's really crazy. And these laws came into effect, or acts, I should say, not law, over 50 years ago. And so that means there had to be so you would think they, like, in the 21st century, just enacted this act, but this was like 50 years ago. So it's amazing. It's amazing what you don't know until you know. Other short titles: Currency and Foreign Transaction Reporting Act, Report of Currency and Foreign Transactions, Domestic Currency Transactions, Report of Exports and Imports of Monetary Instruments. Then you have the long title there. Acronym is BSA. Nicknames: Federal Deposit Insurance Act Amendments, enacted by the 91st United States Congress, October 26, 1970. Citations: Public Law, Statutes at Large, Titles, Minute. 12, United States Code, or USC, Banks and Banking. 15, USC, United States Code, Commerce and Trade. Legislative history. It was signed into law by Richard Nixon. So it's interesting. So a lot of things that Richard Nixon has done before he resigned, kind of like are still, Americans are still being affected by, and the world is pretty much affected by today. Then you got the history, the report, sanctions. They go to history. has been amended several times, including provisions in Title III of the USA Patriot Act, and there go another interesting act. So it's interesting, like I don't know if you agree whether or not some of these acts take away, the freedoms of the individuals, but there, I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of shady stuff going on behind the scenes. And certain financial institutions, if you watch some of these documentaries and to get away with so much stuff, or get around, or find ways around all these laws and codes and things, and then when they do get caught, it's just pretty much just a slap on the wrist, and no criminal, especially if they're international financial institution, there's really no accountability at all. Nobody gets any criminal charges against them as well. So it's just like a license to do things, or do whatever you want, pretty much. Okay. So, to require financial institutions to establish anti-money laundering programs by establishing internal policies, procedures, and controls, designating compliance officers, providing ongoing employee training, and testing their programs through independent audits. There was an attempt to include another amendment in the 2018 called the Illicit Arts and Antiquities Trafficking Prevention Act. As the name implies, it is aimed to restrict illegal trafficking of art in the United States, which has the highest rate of money laundering in the world. See what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not making this up, we don't have to just take Wikipedia as a source, or documentaries on Netflix and YouTube and others as a or National Geographic or Discovery or whatever as a resource, or different websites or whatever. But just find a way. Read books. Find a way to wherever you get your sources. But you just find this or a direct source by reading these acts. It tells you right here, there's a lot of shady stuff going on. People using art and antiquities. And if you know anything about antiquities, it's like, just for example, you can't go to China and go to the terracotta warrior site, for example, and take something from there, or Egypt, and go to the Valley of the Kings or whatever and take something and try to put it on the something that's about 2,000, maybe 5,000 years old, and try to sell it, and then make a killing with money, and just so some very wealthy individual could have that as part of their collection. Art collection or antiquities collection, that maybe one day they'll donate it to a museum, hopefully, or their descendants, and then get a major tax write-off or something like that as well, for something that they stole or had stolen and paid for, maybe, or not. But the crazy thing about it is that, this is one of the things that goes on, and it's amazing. Arts and antiquities is still, trafficking is still a thing. And they were going, and that was just only 3 years ago. It was like 2018 they were talking about that. Well, trying to add that in, or add that into the to the USA Patriot Act. As the name implies, it aims to restrict illegal trafficking of art in the United States. And then check this out. The United States, which has the highest rate of money laundering in the world. The highest rates of money laundering in the world. And the reason I put this out is because if you or myself try to move around $10,000, oh man, we'll be red flagged, or try to borrow $10,000 or whatever, we'll be red flagged or treated like crap, our money will probably be put on hold indefinitely or something to, until they figure something out or get some paperwork done. So basically what I'm thinking is, but as you can see here, but these individuals, that are doing all this trafficking, etc., it seems like this is not really hurting them very well, because if this article is saying in the United States, which has the highest rates of money laundering in the world, it was not passed in the United States House of Representatives. This was because the aim of the IAATP did not directly correspond with the aim of the BSA, which, according to Congressman Measure, sponsor of the bill, is to counteract terrorist financing and crack down on terrorist organizations like ISIC. Oh, goodness gracious. Unbelievable. So pretty much they're just saying like, okay, they're picking and choosing the winners. Okay, if you are, doing these corrupt, shady, illegal things, we'll just let these things, we'll overlook these things. But if you're doing other shady and legal things, like being a terrorist or involved with terrorism, okay, just like when people were doing the, we'll get involved in situations if you we'll get involved in situations if you are a communist, for example, or something's happening with communism, then we'll get involved, but otherwise we don't really care, so that's pretty much what they're saying right here. If you're not a terrorist, we don't really care what you're doing. Just get out my face. It's just my opinion. I may be wrong. I'm just a YouTuber or a YouTube creator. I'm just some guy on YouTube. My opinion doesn't really matter that much. I don't have any government's affiliations or whatever, or friends or people in high places, where I'm getting this information from. Just like you, I'm getting this information off the internet. But at the same time, for your own primary information is really good for. I recommend getting in the habit of reading these, the actual USA Patriot Act, actually reading the BSA, which is the Bank Secrecy Act. Start reading these things, if you have time. Start going over definitions like the negotiable instruments. What is money laundering, and how they define money laundering, how they define negotiable instruments, how they define and what's their definition of tax evasion. So, negotiable instrument. So a negotiable instrument is a document guaranteeing the payment of a specific amount of money, either on demand or at a set time, whose payer is usually named on the document. Is usually named on the document. So more specifically, it is a document contemplated by or consisting of a contract which promises the payment of money without condition, which may be paid either on demand or at a future date. The term has different meanings depending on the use of the term, as it is used in the application of different laws, and depending on which country and context it is used. Yeah, so whatever your country, you can look similar terms up. Each country is gonna, just like each country has a different number, and also different rights, like George Carlin said in one of his comedy specials. There's probably 1,000 or more interpretations of what or definitions of what a negotiable instrument is, but this could probably be the standard of what one is. Promissory notes and so many other things. Money laundering is the process of changing large amounts of money attained from crimes such as drug trafficking into origination from a legitimate source. It is a crime in many jurisdictions with very varying definitions. It is a key operation of the underground economy. Wow, so every time you get deeper into this, it just gets deeper and deeper. You get more terms and more words and more things that are going on, like crimes, and then they give you one big specific one where lots of money gets laundered from, and then they go into another big term, underground economy. So I like to see the Federal Reserve put that on one of their models. If they account for the underground economy as well, and how that affects their models, their financial models, and their predictions, and whether they should increase or decrease interest rates. Tax evasion, false accounting. Wow. Humanity has come up with so much stuff. Tax evasion, false accounting. Financial transaction which generates an asset or a value as a result of an illegal act. Any financial transaction which generates an asset or a value as the result of an illegal act. Money laundering was applied only to financial transactions related to organized crime. Today, its definition is often expanded by government and international regulators, such as the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, to mean any financial transaction which generates an asset or a value as a result of an illegal act. Well, then it goes into all these awesome, great citizens, global citizens. So courts involve money laundering committed by private individuals, drug dealers, businesses, corrupt officials, members of criminal organizations such as the mafia, and even states. Wow. So